Hello, this is John Belcher, Law Offices of John Belcher. This is volume 3 of Rock and the Law. This is a story about a musician by the name of John Fogerty, who was one of the two Fogerty brothers that founded Creedence Clearwater Revival, a phenomenally successful band out of El Cerrito, California. When they founded the band, they were looking for a label, and there was a small label in San Francisco called Fantasy. And they were presented with the worst contract in the history of rock, where Fantasy obtained all of the rights to the songs and they were obligated to produce multiple albums for them. One of the band members had a father who worked at one of the powerhouse San Francisco firms, and they kept asking him as he checked out the contract, is it okay? And he said yes, and they signed this terrible contract. Creedence went on to have musical success with a number of million-selling songs, including Proud Mary, which is one of the most recorded and one of the most popular songs of that era. Eventually, Fogerty got tired of working for Fantasy and gave up music altogether, and then he went off on a solo career. In the category of be careful what you start, Fantasy Records and its owner, Saul Zanetz, initiated a lawsuit against John Fogerty for sounding too much like John Fogerty. He put a song out called Old Man Down the Road, and the owner of the rights to Run Through the Jungle, Fantasy Records, sued Fogerty for plagiarism, plagiarizing himself. In 1988, the case made it to jury trial in San Francisco in the Northern District of California. John Fogerty went up and got his guitar out and showed his style and took the position, look, this is just the style that I play of swamp music. And the jury agreed with him. He was awarded $20,000 in costs, and he said, well, wait a minute, under the Copyright Act, the prevailing plaintiff is entitled to attorney's fees. As a prevailing defendant, I'm over $1 million out in attorney's fees. Why shouldn't I get it? He was denied his attorney's fees at the district court. He went up to the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit denied him attorney's fees. So eventually, in 1993, he got to the United States Supreme Court, and his attorneys argued, wait a minute, Congress couldn't have intended that the prevailing plaintiff gets attorney's fees, but it's not a level playing field if the defendant doesn't obtain attorney's fees. Well, sure enough, in a 9-0 opinion, unanimous, written by Chief Justice Rehnquist, the Supreme Court agreed that, in fact, John Fogerty was entitled to his attorney's fees from Fantasy Records. The moral to the story is, remember that Fantasy initiated the lawsuit to begin with. There was a lot of bad blood between the parties, and ultimately, after spending massive amounts of money at the trial court, at the Ninth Circuit, at the US Supreme Court, they not only were out that money, but they had to pay John Fogerty. John Belcher, Rock and Roll and the Law, Volume 3.